Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar on endpoint management and security solutions. In today's session, we will be covering patch management. On behalf of the ManageEngine family, I would like to welcome you and thank you all for being interested in our endpoint management and security product. Now let me introduce myself. I'm Karthika and I'm a product specialist at ManageEngine. I work predominantly with endpoint security products and I will be your presenter for this session. Before we begin the training, here is a quick overview of the products offered by ManageEngine. As you can see, we offer a wide variety of products to handle any and all of your endpoint management and security concerns. To know more about our product, you can also visit the website mentioned below. So across the globe, we have started embracing the new normal. And for an IT admin, this new normal now means a distributed workforce. Managing and securing devices across a distributed workforce can be quite challenging for IT admins who now have to consider various factors before initiating a patch and other tasks. So some of these factors or challenges that an IT admin now faces include bandwidth constraints, keeping the end user informed about these patch tasks, time constraints while applying the patches, and reboot schedule and troubleshooting. Let's take a live example to understand this situation better. It will be easier for us to correlate to this example as we suggest methods to manage and patch endpoints remotely in the upcoming slides. So as you can see from the picture on your screen, John is one of our customers and heads the IT team of a successful chain of hotels. John and his team are in charge of managing over 10,000 endpoints spread across the globe. As you can see from the picture, each remote office has its own requirements in terms of endpoints managed, bandwidth, and the mode of connectivity. So the IT team has to figure out ways to test the newly released patches, deploy them periodically to all the endpoints, and overall monitor and secure these endpoints. On top of this, John is now faced with a new situation. Half of his employees work from home. Due to this, there are significant challenges in enabling, managing, and securing work from home devices. The challenges in seamlessly enabling work from home includes conserving internet bandwidth, configuring VPN gateway, allowing edge and cloud access. We should also factor in an onslaught of new devices, own devices and internet, roaming and devices on LAN, and a variety of collaborative tools. When it comes to securing work from home devices, we might have to go beyond just patching and ensure endpoint lockdown and encryption, data leakage prevention, and browser security. So John needs to enable, manage, and secure work from home devices for these two types of users. Users who connect to the desktop central server using VPN and users who connect over the internet. Apart from remote users, John should now revise a strategy to get the back to office machines up and running as offices across the globe are slowly opening up for business. So in today's Desktop Central free training session, we will be discussing about handling patch management with respect to the work from home scenario, and also come up with a back to office security checklist to enable a fast and smooth transition back to office. So in essence, we will be discussing on how to handle the distributed workforce. So this is how the training session is going to pan out. This is series 1 and it is a 6-week series. We are in the first week and we will be covering patch management. Apart from this session, we also have another session at 11:30 a.m. EDT today. So for more details about the training series, you can check out our webpage mentioned below. Once you successfully complete a series, you will be awarded the Training Participation Certificate. So this is the first series and it has 6 sessions. So once you are done with all 6, you shall get your certificate. Similarly, you can attend series 2 on mobile device management and series 3 on OS deployment and claim those certificates as well. Now let's move forward with the patch training. Like I said earlier, we will be focusing on distributed workforce in today's session. As per the agenda, since this is the first session in the 6-week series, we will begin with the basics about what Desktop Central is and how it can be used to achieve complete endpoint management. Following this, we will come up with a checklist to get you all ready to go back to office. This will include strategic and priority-based patching along with network access control. Desktop Central's architecture and how it works will also be covered, mainly for the benefit of the attendees who are not familiar with the product. Finally, we'll be concluding the session by discussing a few scenarios and questions that we came across during our interaction with our customers. Feel free to ask questions anytime during the session. I have an expert panel with me who would love to answer all your questions. Also, I would like to let you know that this session is being recorded and the recorded version will be sent to your registered email ID. So for today's session, I'll be using Desktop Central's build version 100675 for demonstration purposes. Let's move on now. So what is Desktop Central? To put it into simple words, Desktop Central is a unified endpoint management solution that helps you manage various types and flavors of devices from a single centralized console. Now you guys must be wondering what a unified endpoint management solution is. Well, Forrester, a popular market research company, defines UEM solutions as products that allow securing and managing devices from a single console. Desktop Central perfectly fits this description and what's more, comes equipped with a UEM edition. With Desktop Central's UEM edition, we get a complete integration of client management abilities combined with mobile device management, OS deployment capabilities, and modern management for Windows and Mac OS. The modern management's enhanced feature set is displayed on your screen. This was established to reduce the struggle in managing endpoints. Windows introduced this shift to modern management with Windows 10. So here you have a detailed view of the Desktop Central's UEM edition feature. As I mentioned before, It comes with client management abilities, mobile device management, OS deployment, and modern management capabilities. So the applicable OS and the devices for each of these feature sets are mentioned on the site. With Desktop Central, you can manage a variety of endpoints like laptops, desktops, mobiles and tablets, servers, point-of-sale devices, and browsers. Customers and users have also recognized Desktop Central as a wholesome UEM solution, and we have won the Gartner Peer Insights Customer Choice Award for 2 consecutive years now. Now let's take a quick look at the components required to get Desktop Central up and running. Since Desktop Central follows the client-server model, we essentially need the server and agent. The notification server is used to initiate on-demand tasks. As for the optional components, we have the distribution server that helps with bandwidth restriction in remote offices, secure gateway server that is used to ensure secure communications between the roaming agents and the server, the failover server, which is nothing but a backup server to the primary Desktop Central server. Further, we also offer regional language pack, which can be used according to your organization's requirements. As for the supported operating systems, Desktop Central can be used to manage Windows, Mac, and Linux endpoints. The Desktop Central server, however, has to be hosted on a Windows platform. So here you can find a complete list of operating systems supported by Desktop Central. To know more details about this, you can reach out to our support team, or you can check out our supported applications page. Moving on, since Desktop Central works on a server-client model, agents need to be installed on the endpoints that you wish to manage. So this can be done in 3 ways. First and easiest method is to automate the agent installation process. So by this, you can silently push the agents to the computers managed using Desktop Central from the Desktop Central console itself. The second method is if you use an Active Directory in your network, you can leverage this to install agents using the group policy object. Finally, you can also install agents using scripts or manually download the agents from the Desktop Central server and install them on your endpoint. Now that we've covered the basics, let's get into the patch training part of the session. So Desktop Central supports the patching of over 1,000 applications across Windows, Mac, and Linux platforms, along with a wide range of third-party applications. So you can find a complete list of our supported applications in the URL mentioned below. Before we go about patching, let's initially clear a few doubts regarding the updates that should be installed. Let's take a look at Microsoft's method of releasing updates and its recommendation to installing these updates. So as you can see, the important updates for Windows 7 and 8 are the security-only updates and the monthly quality rollout. When you move on to Windows 10, you have the Delta, Cumulative, and the Feature Pack. So the Delta is an update that has all the new security fixes for a given month. The cumulative updates include both security and reliability updates packaged together. The feature pack, as most of you guys already know, is released twice a year with all the new capabilities. The latest feature pack we have is the Windows 10 2004, but the Windows 10 1909 and 03 are still quite popular and widely used. So we have seen that most of our customers only install security updates. This selective approach can leave your network open to vulnerability. Microsoft recommends a full patch approach. So even if you give high priority to security updates and install them immediately on release, consider installing other updates at least on the third or fourth week from release. So this way, you can keep your network completely patched. Now that we've seen what to install, let's quickly take a look at how Desktop Central goes about it. So when a patch is released, it is available in the vendor website. Our patch crawler team repeatedly probes the internet to draw vulnerability patch information from the vendor site. Once the information is received, the patches are tested in our environment. Please note that this testing is only to check the successful installation, compatibility, and the applicability of the patches. After this, it will be published to the central patch repository. The Desktop Central server subscribes to the central patch repository periodically to download the vulnerability database. So once this sync is done, the client machines should be scanned to identify the missing patches. After identifying the missing patches, Desktop Central server directly downloads the required patches from the vendor website. That said, let's take a look at how the endpoint can be managed in the work from home scenario. So we would have come across these type of users in the work from home scenario. Regular VPN users, users who are part of the local office but have to configure and connect to VPN after work from home, and users who are hosted on cloud or edge. So John and his team would now have to cater to these users apart from managing the endpoints available at office. Let's analyze how to handle such users. So first, let's take up the users that connect over the internet or the roaming users. So we have two cases that we will consider for roaming users today. So the first one is a roaming users can connect through the secure gateway server. So once such roaming users connect through the secure gateway server, there will be no necessity to expose the Desktop Central server to the internet, and all the communication between the agent and the central server will occur securely through the secure gateway server. So let me quickly take you to the console and show you how to configure this. So as you can see, I am in build version 100649. So this particular build I am using has the endpoint security add-on enabled. So that is why you can see some additional features such as threats and patches, device controls, app control, browsers, and BitLocker. So these are the additional features that come with the endpoint security add-on. So if you don't have the endpoint security add-on enabled, you will find patch management here instead of threats and patches. So this is how the Desktop Central homepage looks like. You have interactive graphs here that immediately gives you your network status. So now let me show you how you can configure the secure gateway server. So go to the admin tab right here. Under server settings, you can find an option called the NAT setting. So click on this NAT setting. Here you will have to mention the public FQDN and the port of the machine that you are planning to download your secure gateway server in. So mention the public FQDN and port of the machine that will host your secure gateway server here and give save. So configuring the NAT settings is the first part. For the second part, again go to the admin tab, and here under security settings, you can find the secure gateway server. So click on that. So you can find the steps to configure the secure gateway server right here. Under prerequisites, you can find that we need to specify the FQDN and the ports for in the NAT settings. We have done just that right now. So here you have the option to download and install the secure gateway server. If you have any problem setting up the server, you can contact our support team and they'll be more than happy to walk you through this process. Now let's take a look at the second type of users. So these are the remote office users who work from home now. So most remote offices will have a distribution server to mediate between the primary desktop central server and the agent. So these distribution servers are hosted in the local network. Exposing the distribution server to the internet is a very bad idea. So instead, here is what you can do to simplify the communication. All you have to do is change the mode of communication. So I'm going to show you how this can be done on the console. Going back to the console, go to the admin tab. Under SOM settings, you will have scope of management. So click on that. Here you have the remote offices that you have configured. So click on the remote offices. And all the remote offices that you've configured will be listed right here. So all you have to do is click on these three dots available here under Action and modify it. So once you click Modify, you'll be taken to this page wherein you've configured your remote office. So under Communication Details, you can see that Through Distribution Server is selected. So in cases wherein you don't have to expose the distribution server to the internet, all you have to do is change this to direct communication. Once you've done that, your remote office agent will directly contact your primary desktop central server. So once you give direct communication, give modify, and you've successfully refrained from exposing your distribution server. Has been modified successfully. So you can find the message right here. So that is how we do that. Let me take you back to the presentation now. Let's take a look at the VPN users now. So these are users who connect to the company's network through the VPN. So in this case, agents can access the server with absolutely no problem. But since the entire workforce will now use VPN to reach the company's network, we might face VPN or internet bandwidth restrictions. So this can be solved by carefully selecting the updates to install and by excluding bulky updates like feature pack and cumulative updates. Apart from that, we have also introduced a new feature called the direct download option. So this is to conserve bandwidth for such VPN users. With the direct download feature, the agent can directly download the patches from the internet or the vendor website. So the prerequisites to use this option are: upgrade your desktop central build. This feature is available from build number 100546. So upgrade to the latest desktop central build. And you need to deploy a predefined template that we have for this feature to all of your work from home machines. So this is how the template looks like. Let me take you to the console and show you where you can find this particular template. So for demonstration purposes, I'm going to show you how to deploy this on Windows machines. So go to threads and patches or patch management, and under deployment, you will have an option called disable automatic updates. So click on that. So you have the templates to disable updates for few third-party patches and so on. You also have a template for enable agent to directly download patches right here. So all you have to do is create a configuration with this particular template and deploy this configuration to all of your work from home machines to enable the direct download feature. So the details are mentioned right here. Under target, all you have to do is select your work from home machine or your roaming users or whoever you want this direct download feature to be deployed to. So once you do that, you can give deploy, and those agents will have the capacity to download patches directly from the vendor website. So if you want to disable this particular feature, all you have to do is change this value to 0 and deploy this template again. So these are for the Windows machine. Now for Mac machines, all you have to do is search for this patch ID 602357 to enable the direct download feature. To disable the feature, search for the patch ID 602358 and deploy them to the machines in which you want to disable the feature. So in case you have any other doubts regarding this feature, please write to our support team and they will help clarify all of your doubts. So now we've seen how to patch the endpoints remotely. Next step is to go ahead and create a checklist for our back to office transition. So here are 4 things that you need to check for your back to office machine. Firstly, check the compliance status of machine coming back to office and quarantine the non-compliant machine. Secondly, create a list of the applications that you might have missed out on patching due to, let's say, some issues like network or user issues, and initiate a patch task for such applications. Thirdly, you might not have deployed feature packs for work from home machines as they are quite bulky updates. So once they come back to office, check if they are running the latest feature pack, and if not, go ahead and deploy the latest feature pack. Fourth, you can embrace the immediate deployment options that we have by checking user logout availability, because we need to get these machines back to production as soon as possible. So now let's keep these 4 points in mind and devise a strategy to achieve these points. So like we discussed, we are going to use network access control to check the compliance status of back to office machines. Then we are going to come up with business critical applications that have not been patched. We're going to test these critical applications and deploy them on a highly vulnerable back to office machine. So this strategy aims to ready machines for production as soon as possible, like I told you guys before. Thirdly, we're going to create restore points before we initiate any patch task for these back to office machines, and also configure announcements to keep the end user informed. This is what we're going to do for the back to office machines. Let's take a look at them one by one now. So the first step, like I told you guys, is to check the compliance of your back to office machine. So this can be achieved using our network access control module. So the network access control, or the NAC module, checks the compliance status of managed endpoints, and based on the result, restricts access to network resources for non-compliant machines. So network access control, or NAC, is available as a separate module to desktop sensors. So you can reach out to support to download this module and check it out, or you can check out this particular web page that has a detailed step-to-step description on how to download and use this network access control module for desktop sensors. So let's quickly take a look at the workflow of the modules. The admin can configure software and services compliance policies on the quarantine policy generator. Once these policies are configured, the trust agent, which is an executable, checks the managed endpoints to see if they are compliant and with the policies configured. So the trust agent checks the endpoints to see if they comply with the policies that the admin has configured. If compliance is achieved, these machines are deemed fit to work, and you can put them to the production environment. If compliance is not achieved, these machines are quarantined. That is, they are restricted from accessing network resources. So you can find the problems that cause non-compliance and solve them. Once you solve them, you can check the compliance status again manually, or the compliance status is checked by default on every refresh cycle. The quarantine is revoked if the machine achieves compliance or if the agent is uninstalled and cannot be pinged. So this is the workflow of the network access control modules. And this is how the quarantine policy generator looks. So once you download this module, you get a quarantine policy generator like this. So you can open this, and on the left hand side, you can configure the compliance policy checks. That is, you can configure policies for software and service checks based on your organization compliance requirements. So the trust agent that I told you before checks your endpoint based on the policies that you configure right here. And on the right hand side, you have the quarantine settings. So if the compliance policies are not satisfied, then you can set network restriction on such machines by fully blocking internet and intranet access, or by selectively blocking intranet access, allowing only certain domains and IP access, and so on. So once the compliance policies and the quarantine settings are configured, you can go ahead and generate the policy and check your back to office machine on this set of policies. So like I told you guys before, you can find more details about this module on the web page that is mentioned below, or you can just reach out to our support team and they will help you download and use this module. Moving on, before we go ahead and set patch tasks specific to back to office machines, it is always a good practice to have backup in the form of restore points before we proceed. So let me show you how you can create restore points using desktop sensor. So I'm taking you guys back to the console now. So here under configuration, you can find the script repository. Click on that, and under templates, you can find the predefined template for enabling system restore point. I'm going to search for the same here. There it is. So you can find the predefined template for enable system restore. So you can add it to a repository. If it isn't already added, you will have an option to add it to the repository. But since it has already been added here, you can view it in the repository. So you can view the template here, and all you have to do is deploy the template to your back to office machines by creating a computer or user configuration. So once you've created a system restore point, you can go ahead and start patching your back to office machine. Let's go back to the presentation now. So we've covered the restore points. Another good practice is to keep your end users informed about such patching schedules. So you can also achieve this using Desktop Central. I'm going to show you how you can create announcements and have your end users informed about any task that you're doing with respect to patching or their system. So let's quickly go to the console again. So here under Tool, you will have the option to create announcements right here. So you can click on that and you can create specific announcements for all your tasks. Go ahead and create an announcement. You can give it a title. If it is a patch task, you can just give it a title like this. Additionally, you can also add a message. For instance, you can ask your end users to get connected to the VPN at a particular time, or you can mention when the deployment would happen and when they can expect a reboot, and so on. So you can add a message of your choice right here. And you can set the dates and time for the start and end of announcement. So we would suggest you to start this announcement at least a week before your actual task. So you can set the time for the start of the announcement. And you can choose to end the announcement once the patch task is over. Something like that. You can also choose the frequency at which this announcement should be shown to the end user. So you can go with only once or multiple times. Let's say once in 2 days or 3 days. And you can select the target user. Could be your remote office users or your custom group of users or individual users whom you can select from here, from your particular domain. And you can add these users and run the announcements to these particular set of users and so on. So once you give save, you would have configured announcement successfully. So these announcements will go to the end users at the frequency that you have mentioned. So right there, patch task April announcement has been configured successfully. So this is how you keep your end users informed. Now that we've done that, let's go back to our presentation and check out our next point. So before we move on to creating patch tasks for our work from home or back to office machine, there are a few things that we need to check out and configure for patch tasks to happen seamlessly. So the first one is configuring your proxy settings, and the second one is to configure your patch database settings. So I'm going to take you to the console now to show you how to configure your proxy settings and your patch database settings. So go to the admin tab and under patch settings, you'll find the option for proxy settings. So the main reason for configuring the proxy is because the desktop central server should be able to contact the central patch repository to update the vulnerability database. Also, only if the proxy is enabled, the server can download the patches from the vendor website as well. So go ahead and configure your proxy. You can give a direct connection to internet, or you can configure it manually by giving the credentials right here. So once you have configured the proxy settings, the next step is to configure the patch database settings. I'm going to show you how to do that. So our proxy has been configured successfully. Our next step is to configure the patch database settings. So for this, go to the admin tab again. Under patch settings, you will find patch database settings option. Click on that. So you'll be taken to the page wherein you can configure the patch database settings. You need to be very careful while configuring these settings, as this is where you select the type of patches that you wish to manage. For instance, whatever patch you select here is the criteria in which all of your agents are scanned for missing patches. So you can select patches for Windows, Mac, and Linux. As you can see, you have options to select types of Microsoft patches, third-party updates, driver, and BIOS. So you can just go with security, feature packs, and non-security, or you can choose to have your machine scanned for all Microsoft updates as well. So the same goes for Mac and Linux as well. So once you have selected the patches that you want to manage, the second and most important step is to configure the sync between your desktop central server and the vulnerability database. So once you click on this enable schedule, the sync between the desktop central server and the vulnerability database will occur automatically every day at the time you mentioned right here. So here the time is 3:38. So whatever time you mentioned here, the sync between the desktop central service and the vulnerability database will occur at that particular time every day automatically. So you can choose to get notified about it by giving your email ID here as well. So once you have configured patch database settings, give save. So now we can go ahead and create patch tasks for all of our managed endpoints. Let me quickly take you back to the presentation and summarize what we just did right now. So like I showed you, the sync between the desktop central server and the patch database can be scheduled to happen once every day. Like I told you, you can fix the schedule for it to automatically happen once every day. You can also manually initiate it. So once the sync happens, the agent machines are scanned for missing patches when they reach out to the desktop central server. So this is the workflow. Now let's go to the next item on our back to office checklist. So the next item on our back to office checklist is to identify the critical application and patch them. So let me show you how you guys can do this. So back to our console. So under threats and patches, you have the patches option, wherein you'll have all of your missing patches listed right here. So we have color codes to show how severe they are. So red means critical, yellow means important, and so on. So you can find the critical patches that are missing in your system. You can also find the systems that are missing them when you click on that. Right here, you can find the systems that are missing them. You can just click on them and install patch. So in this way, you have easily identified the missing patches that are critical and the machines that are missing these critical patches, and you can deploy them. Another method is by configuring the system health policy. Let me show you how this can be done. So go to System, configure your system health policy according to your organizational requirements. For instance, you can term highly vulnerable machines as machines that have more than one critical patch missing, more than one important patch missing, and so on. And vulnerable machines as having more than one moderate patch missing or one low patch missing, and so on. So this is completely your choice. So you can go ahead and term these as highly vulnerable machines as missing 5 or more critical patches, and so on. This is completely up to you. So once you've configured the system health, there is an option to consider only approved patches for this particular system health. So I'll be talking about test and approve in some time in detail. So once you've selected and given save, your system health policy will be considered and all of your managed systems will be categorized based on this policy. So you can find your highly vulnerable systems here. We have 7 highly vulnerable systems. That is, systems that have more than one critical patch or more than one important patch according to the criteria that I set right now. So you can just choose your highly vulnerable systems and deploy the missing patches. You can find how many critical and important patches they are missing as well, right here. So in this way, you can easily identify all of your critical systems and patch them on priority basis. You also have vulnerable systems and systems that don't fall into these 2 criteria will be called healthy systems. So you can find those systems here as well. So this is how you identify critical applications and patch them. Moving on, it is always important to test your applications before we patch them or before we deploy them to our production environment. So with Desktop Central, you can completely automate this test and approve process as well. So I'm going to take you to the console now to show you how you can create a test group and completely automate the test and approval process. So under threats and patches, go to deployment. And here you have the test and approve option. So click on that. And create a test group. So now the test group should ideally include all the flavors that you're running in your environment for thorough testing. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to create a test group for Windows machines now. So you can choose a test group, a custom group that you already have. Or you can create a new test group as well. Taking a little time to load. Okay, so you can create a new custom group here as well. Go ahead, create a custom group like it can be static unique or dynamic. All you have to do is select the computers that you want in this particular custom group. If you go with a dynamic custom group, even simpler, all you have to do is select the criteria and any machine that you manage that satisfies this criteria will automatically become a part of this particular custom group. So likewise, you can create custom groups of your choice. And once you've done that, choose a particular group for testing your patches. The next step is to select the patches that you want tested. So we would suggest you to test all the patches that you are planning to deploy to your production environment. So if you are going to deploy only critical and important patches, test only them and so on. You can choose the same for third-party applications as well. And test these patches on all applications. So once this is done, you can choose a deployment policy for testing. Let's just go with a test policy. you can also create or modify this policy. So once you've done that, you can enable notifications, get notified about this testing process. The next step is the most important step, the approval of the tested patches. So once you click enable on this automatically approved option, you have completely automated your testing and approval process. So once your patches are tested, they will automatically get approved after the number of days that you mentioned right here. So once you do that, you can give create and your test group will automatically be created. Now, like I showed you before, when configuring system health, you can just go ahead and choose to have only approved patches when you're configuring system health. So this is the meaning of this option that we have provided right here. Consider only approved patches to determine system health. So in this way, you will only have tested and approved patches considered for your system health. So likewise, you will know that all the patches that are missing in your highly vulnerable systems or your vulnerable system have been tested and approved. Let me show you. So this is one of the patches that is missing in one of my highly vulnerable machines. And you can find that the approval status is approved. So this is how you will completely automate your test and approval process using desktop Census. Now let me take you back to the presentation. So we have tested and approved our critical patches as well. Our next step is feature pack, checking for the feature pack. So in some of your work from home machines, you might not have deployed the latest feature pack because of bandwidth constraints and so on. So once your machines are back to office, you can check if they have the latest feature pack. If they don't, you can go ahead and deploy the latest feature pack. Let me show you how to check if they have the latest feature pack or not. Going back to the console, under present patches or patch management, go to the patches tab right here. And under missing patches, you can go ahead and search for feature pack. So you can see that the latest feature pack is missing in one of the systems. So all you have to do is select this and install it. So that way, your latest feature pack is also deployed. So since our objective is to get machines coming back to office fit for production as soon as possible, we can utilize this deploy immediately option by checking the user logon details as well. So under reports, you can just create a query for user logon details, and based on the user logon details, you can schedule deployment to happen immediately when they are logged in as well. So with this, we have checked off the major or immediate requirements to get ready for the back to office machine. So now let us devise separate policies for the machines that are still working from home. So here we are going to configure policies that will allow the end user the liberty to skip deployment and reboot. We also have plans for an option that will allow the end user to apply the patch. So this particular option is still in our roadmap and we are working on it. Now let me quickly take you to the console and show you how you can create a deployment policy specifically for work from home machines and how you can add this policy to an automate patch deployment or APD task, specifically for work from home machines. Let's quickly take a look at how this is done. So here, under patch management or threads and patches, go to the deployment options and deployment policy. Here you have all the policies that are already created. To create a new policy, just go with create policies. So this is a 4-step process. So you can name this policy accordingly. Go with work from home April. And you can choose the type of switch that you want with this particular policy. I'm having a little network issues with this. So go to deployment. And create a policy. Like I showed you, it's a 4-step process. You can name the policies according to your requirement. So you can go with the regular splits or the patch Tuesday splits. So going with the patch Tuesday splits, the weeks are based on patch Tuesday. So you can keep the first and the patch Tuesday week for testing. And you can go with these others. So since this is a policy for work from home machines, we're going to keep the deployment window as broad as possible, so that we give the end users some liberty to patch at their convenience. So you can keep it as broad as possible. You can also add more schedules. Next is to initiate deployment. So you can do it at system startup, refresh, or whichever happens first. I'm going to go with this option. So once this is done, the next step is pre-deployment setting. So now this is not very important when it comes to work from home machines, but for the machines that are still at your office or the servers that you're still having at your office, you can go ahead and automatically make them before deployment or download patches during subsequent refresh cycle as well. Now going to the third one, user notification. This step is extremely important when it comes to work from home users. So you can keep your end user notified about deployment, and you can also give them the liberty to skip deployment. In case they are in some business critical task or so on, you can allow them to skip deployment. We have the option to force deployment. So if it is a very critical update that needs to be installed, and if the user keeps skipping it, you can force deployment after a particular number of days from which the user has skipped it. You can also choose to show the deployment progress on the client's computer. So this is how we give the end user a little liberty to deploy at his or her convenience. After user notifications, the final step is a reboot policy. So you can choose not to reboot or shut down. However, we would suggest you guys to reboot after a patch task for it to be successful. So once you go with reboot, for the work from home machine, you can go ahead and choose the postpone reboot, because in here you have options that will allow your end user to postpone reboot at the interval that you choose to give them. So you can choose to give them these intervals, and the end user can postpone their task in these particular intervals. If you select user defined time, the end user will be able to mention the time at which he or she wants his machine to be rebooted as well. Again, you can skip reboot if the machine does not require one, and exclude reboot for servers as well. So once you give save, you have created a separate policy for your work from home machine. Now you have to couple this policy with an APD or an automate patch deployment task to completely automate your patching process. So for now, I'm going to go with Windows. So you can create a patch task for your Windows machines. An APD task also has 4 steps. The first is selecting application that you want to be deployed. Since this task is for work from home machines, we can go with the critical and important updates and patch all applications. The same for third-party updates as well. You can also choose to add antivirus definition updates. However, we would suggest you to have a separate APD task for this particular antivirus update. So you can deploy after a particular days from release or after a particular days from approval. I'm going to go with this one because then the patch will be tested. So once you do that, the next option is to choose a deployment policy. So this is when you choose the policy that you have created, especially for this APD task, and couple it with the task. So once this is done, the next step is to define the target. So here you can go with work from home machines or your roaming machines right now. You can choose those targets. You also have option to exclude machines right here based on few criteria. So you can go ahead, exclude Microsoft Windows 7 machines and so on. Final step is to configure notifications. So here, this is an optional step. You can configure to get notified about your deployment progress, and you can also get the report of the same. Well, you can give your email address right here, and the report will be sent to your email ID. So this is an optional step. So once you've configured this, give save, and your exclusive APD task for your work from home machine has been successfully created. Now let me take you back to the presentation. So like I said, when you give the option for the user to skip reboot, this is how it looks on the user end. They can choose from the time they want to skip reboot. And if you give user defined times, they can also select the time at which they want their systems to be rebooted. For the machines at your office, similarly, you can create a separate policy wherein you have the deployment window between 6 to 9. And like I showed you before, you can wake up the machines before deployment, and you can force reboot as these machines are at office. So once you choose to force reboot, this is how it looks to the end user. They will get this notification. So with that, we have covered the working of the patch management modules. Let's quickly summarize its capabilities. So we know that it is independent of WSUS, extends cross-platform support, and can be used to patch OS as well as third-party updates. So we can leverage various features like test and approve, APD, flexible deployment to suit the organization's requirements. We also have an option to decline patches. So we'll see this in detail in the upcoming slides. So now that we've spoken in length about the capabilities of Desktop Central, let's take a quick look at its architecture. After this section, we have selected all the frequently asked questions and have come up with the answers for the same. So we'll be discussing all of those shortly, so stay tuned till the end of the session. So like I said, Desktop Central works on a client-server module, and the server can be hosted on the local area network. It is a web-based console so it can be viewed from anywhere with just the host name or the IP address of the system hosting the server, followed by the port details. So in local area network, the DC agents can directly contact the desktop central server for their patch tasks and other details. On-demand tasks are initiated through notification server. In the wide area network, the agents can directly contact the desktop central server, or they can contact the server through the distribution server at remote offices. Further, desktop central can also be used to manage roaming users, so we can enable an ad in the firewall or configure a secure gateway server like I mentioned earlier. So when roaming agents try to contact the desktop central server, they get routed through the secure gateway server. Desktop central can also be used to manage computers in closed network. All you have to do is nominate a machine with internet connectivity to download the patches, following which these patches can be copied to the desktop central server, hosted in the closed network, and deployed to the clients of the same network. So you can find more about it in the web page mentioned below. We are excited to announce that Desktop Central is also available on cloud now. Desktop Central server can be hosted on cloud platforms like Azure and AWS Marketplace. The best thing about hosting the server on cloud is that it is cost effective. Also, the Desktop Central server is hosted on cloud. It can be used to manage agents directly or through the distribution server. As Desktop Central users are aware of, patch management comes as a feature in Desktop Central. If you require a dedicated solution for patch management, you can avail Patch Manager Plus, which is available as a standalone product both on premises and on cloud. So now let's quickly take a look at how communication takes place between the server and the agents. So for effective communication, the following ports need to be open. If the firewall is blocking any of these ports, we will let you know on the product home screen so that you can exclude these ports. So the Desktop Central's architecture is scalable to manage over 40,000 endpoints. But if all of these agents contact the server at once, we might have a network choke at our hands. So to avoid this, we have brought in the 90 minutes refresh policy. So every agent contacts the server at a 90 minutes interval called the agent refresh cycle. So this achieves two goals. The network bandwidth doesn't get choked with the agent communication, and the performance of the Desktop Central server does not degrade at any point. So with that, let's take a look at some of the scenarios that we came across and the solutions to the same. Firstly, do I need a secure gateway server for patching machines in work from home? So the answer is yes. The secure gateway server is required to manage roaming users or users who connect through the internet. So if you're interested in using the secure gateway server, you can reach out to our support and they'll be happy to assist you in setting and configuring the same. Let's move to the second scenario. Local office machines are now working from home. How do I make them contact Desktop Central server? So for this, like I mentioned before, if you have configured your NAT settings and set up the secure gateway server, your agents can reach out to Desktop Central server with no problem. Otherwise, they can also reach the server using VPN. If none of this is working out, please reach out to our support with your specific problem and they'll help you handle the scenario. As for the third one, is it a good practice to expose the distribution server? So like I said while we were covering the roaming users, no, it is not a good practice to export the distribution server to the internet. Let's take a look at the fourth scenario. Is there a way for Desktop Central to download all necessary patches, then restart only one for end user? The answer is yes, there is. So all you need to do is create an APD task or a configuration with all of your necessary patches and set the reboot time well past the deployment time. So let's take a look at the next scenario. When I exclude or decline a patch, is it removed from the patch management dashboard page? So there are two ways in which you can exclude a patch. One is a selective exclusion. So this is when you create an APD task. You can choose to exclude certain applications from being patched. The other is the permanent exclusion, wherein you completely decline a patch or a family of patches. So let me quickly take you to the console and explain permanent exclusion. So you're in the console under threats and patches. Go to patches tab. And under this tab, you will have the option for decline patches. Taking a little while to load. Alright, we are in. So here you have the decline patches option. So once you go to the decline patches option, all you have to do is select a group of computers to which you want the patches to be declined. Then select the patches that you wish to decline. So here you can also choose an entire family of patches. So once you select a family of patches and decline them, any new patch of that particular family will also be automatically declined. So like I said, you can select a group and decline patches for this particular group. So I'm having a little issues with the server loading. Okay, wait here. This is how you can select a group from here. And you can choose the patches you want declined to this particular group. So you can go ahead and select separate patches like this. Or you can go ahead and select an entire family of patches as well. So once you do this, all you have to give is space. Then you would have successfully declined patches to a group of computers of your choice. Now let's get back to the presentation. So our business applications misbehave occasionally, and I suspect that recent patch deployments could be the cause. How can I roll back a patch? So this is very easy. You can easily uninstall a patch. All you have to do is go to the installed patches tab. Check out the patches that you have installed. See which one you want to uninstall. Select that particular patch and just give uninstall patch that you will find above. I'll show it to you as soon as this view gets loaded. So right there, you have all the patches that are installed and the machines that are installed in. So all you have to do is select the patch that you want uninstalled and give uninstall patch that is present right here. Let's go back to the presentation now. So while deploying the patches, I came across certain errors on multiple slides. How to get these fixed? So these errors that you see right here Could be due to multiple reasons like connectivity issues, missing dependency files, and so on. So next to the errors like these, we will have detailed KBs or knowledge bases explaining the cause and the mitigation methods. So you can refer those and get these errors fixed. How do I take a patch status report for a specific group of machines before and after patch Tuesday? So this can be done easily by just creating a custom report. Let me quickly show you how this can be done. So go to the report tab. Create a new custom report and select the criteria. For instance, you can go with the last successful patch scan after patch Tuesday. So once you've said that, you can select the criteria that you want included in your report. For instance, missing OS patches, missing third-party patches. So here you can find the missing OS and third-party patches after patch Tuesday. You can run and save this report. Once you save this report, you can also schedule it to be sent to your email ID at the format of your choosing as well. So that is how you create a custom report. Let us go back to the presentation now. Now let's take a look at some frequently asked questions. So the first one, how can I patch my Windows 10 machine in BYOD setup? So you can enroll your personal Windows machine under the mobile device management in desktop central. Following this, a DC agent will be installed in it and it can be managed thus. So let's take a look at the next question. How soon are the patches available to me after being released by Microsoft? So the security updates will be available within 6 hours from release, and the non-security updates are available within 12 hours from release. Take a look at the next question. How can we ever reach a green state in patch management? So this can be easily achieved by configuring your system health policy. So I have already covered this. You can configure your system health policies and check out how many machines are highly vulnerable, and healthy. So your green state in patch management will ideally be when you have 0 highly vulnerable machines, 0 vulnerable machines, and all of your machines are in the healthy state. Let's take a look at the next question. I can see a difference in the patches discovered by Desktop Central against WSUS or Windows Update. So why is that? Only Microsoft updates are visible in WSUS. Desktop Central, however, supports Microsoft and third-party updates as well. So this could be one of the reasons for the difference in the patches discovered. Let's take a look at the next question. How are failed patches handled in test and update? So the patches that fail even in one of the machines will not be approved. So you can check for the patch failure remarks and see what is stated as the cause of failure. You can qualify the reasons and choose to either decline this patch or mitigate the cause of failure and test it again. The next question is there a way to disable automatic updates of third-party applications like Adobe and Java, etc.? So yes, we have an option to disable automatic updates. All you have to do is go to threats and patches go to deployment, and you have the option to disable automatic updates right here. So you can just choose the updates that you want to automatically disable and create a configuration for the thing. Let's go back to the presentation now. How can I see what are the patches released in this patch Tuesday cycle and see all the missing systems? So this can be achieved quite easily by adding a simple filter. Let me show you how. So under patch management, go to patches, and under patches, you have the missing patches. So you have all of your missing patches listed down here. All you have to do is add a filter to these missing patches. And in the filter, you can have the release, the supported dates as after patch Tuesday. So the patch Tuesday of last. So once you do this, create a filter like this. You can give save. And you can apply this particular filter. So once you've applied this filter, you can find the patches that are missing after your patch Tuesday. Let's move on to the next question. So some patches have the description of reboot may require. Why is that? So the patch description is based on the description that is specified by the vendor. So if the vendor marks certain patches as may require reboot, it will be displayed as such in our desktop central console as well. So with this, we come to the end of today's patch training. Hope this session was useful and informative. We would love to hear your feedback regarding the same. So please rate the session on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being the best. If you enjoyed the session, spread the word through social media platforms. So we'll have our next training session on endpoint security, and it will be on April 14th. You can also take a personalized demo if you would like to know more about the product. So please let us know if you're interested in taking up a personalized demo via chat, and our support technician will get in touch with you. I once again thank you all for joining today's session. You guys have been an amazing audience. Thank you and have a great day.